Hi guys, you may have seen our recent video for the handling package for the Jaguar XF, XFR and XFRS. Well, in this video we install our handling package for the Jaguar F-Type today, and we've got this lovely bright red convertible SVR, so stay tuned and watch the transformation. First stage, we get this SVR up on the inspection lift to start tearing down the suspension. Our Wraptor Handling Package is designed to give the car increased handling capability, but without going too far where it would make it difficult to drive on bumpy UK roads, and without losing much comfort at all. Performance polyurethane bushes being installed in the front suspension arms. Front suspension arms being reinstalled. And with the spring position adjusted to lower the car 20mm, it's time to reinstall the suspension. These springs are a little difficult to reinstall on the rear, but I find if you twist them in, they do go straight back in. Now I'm installing our Wraptor uprated rear lower strut brace. As you can see, the standard one on these vehicles goes quite rusty and it is a little bit flimsy in design. All the fixings go corroded pretty quickly on these as well, which is why our kit comes with all new stainless steel fixings. This brace and fixings come part of our Wraptor handling package and is also available as a single item on its own. I think you'll agree the new one is looking much nicer. All new shiny fixings, fresh powder coat and some end caps to help stop water and dirt entering inside. Stronger in design than the original, this gives the rear end slight increased rigidity and better side impact protection. We also have this brace available for the Jaguar XJ X351 and the Jaguar XF X250. Here I'm installing our proper German-made TUV-approved hub-centric wheel spacers. Now this will give the vehicle a wider track, therefore increased stability and less body roll around the corners. Now these do effectively just bolt on, but it is very important to use a high quality spacer, as cheap inferior ones can have problems with things like wheel stud snapping or the wheels becoming insecure over time, which is why we only use these ones. The way we install them, we make sure the hub is perfectly cleaned so they mate together perfectly flat. We use a very small amount of high temperature grease to stop them corroding together. On the threads we use a thread locking compound, as we don't want these nuts coming loose. We'll then torque them to manufacturer's specifications. We'll then apply some paint marks so then they can be checked quite quickly if they ever were to come loose. Once the wheel's installed, we recommend do a road test and then re-torque the wheels to manufacturer's specifications, and then again later on down the line with increased mileage in between checking until we're happy they're completely settled down. Now with the performance bushing, the 20mm lowering, the strengthened rear brace and the proper wheel spacers, it's time for the wheels to go back on, and let's see its new stance. That's all the physical parts installed, but now it's time to set up the wheel alignment. I think you'll agree that looks pretty sleek and sporty. Now the wheel alignment's currently being adjusted. This car will be slightly outside of manufacturer's original specifications, and that's fine. That's due to the modifications we've done, and that's exactly what we want. So we've got slight increased negative camber, so that's going to increase the cornering capability. Now we don't want the tyres to wear funny at all, so to offset this we're also going to add additional toe, very slightly, still within manufacturer specifications, but rather than right in the middle, we set them toeing in just a little bit more. Now the car's set up for ultimate handling and not ruined for the road at all. Now the vehicle in the video is known as Big Red Jag with a Flag, or Big Red for short. It belongs to Jonathan, and now he's about to take it to the Goodwood racing circuit. Out on the public road, the car still drives absolutely great with almost zero comfort loss. Now we haven't gone too low with this, we're not being silly, so it goes over the speed bumps no problem. Jonathan then took Big Red round the racetrack at Goodwood. Here's a few clips for you. I think you'll agree he's gone around that chicane there in the wet weather in confidence. In fact, he's gone through there just as fast, if not faster, than those two Caterhams, which are obviously known to handle absolutely great on track.
And we're off.
And it looks like the weather's improving now, so Jonathan can give it a go in the dry as well. one successful track day complete.
Thanks for that, my darling.
Now, there's lots of so-called upgrades for cars these days that strictly aren't really upgrades, are they? They're just things you can buy to change it. It doesn't necessarily make it better or any more valuable or desirable or anything like that. So, how does this kit actually improve the car? Well, let me talk you through the physics of it a little bit. How we can enhance the suspension and the geometry to make the car better. Okay, so first things first, basic principle of when the car is narrower and higher. I'm going to zoom in on that bit because I don't think you're going to see that on the camera. Let's have a look. Okay, so one basic principle that we're going to be applying is we're going to make the car lower and wider. Obviously it looks well cool, but that's not how it's going to help us with the handling as such. The basic principle to start with is something that is taller and narrower is easier to push over than something that is lower and wider. Okay, so obviously that is going to be much more stable than that. So that's sort of the first basic principle. Okay, also, yeah, we're creating a lower center of gravity basically there. Okay, but that's not the only benefit. By making it lower, we're also going to be increasing the amount of negative camber angle we have at the same time. So let's talk wheel geometry. Okay, so I'll try and draw this out nice and basic and hopefully you guys understand. Here we go. So if we were to look at the wheels from the front or the rear of the car, not the side, not from a bird's eye view, front or rear, so it looks something like this. Okay, so we're looking at kind of the tread of the tyres there, left and right wheel. Here's our suspension arms, hope that makes sense. And we've got a steering rack going to a steering wheel there. Okay, let's zoom in a bit. Okay, so here's our wheels, and then we've got the tyres here and here, and then same on this side. Okay, so again, going in a straight line, you've got lots of tyre to road contact surface area, so you've got a lot of grip. When you go around the corner and the weight tries to transfer, you end up with something that looks a little bit like this, okay? And then you've got less tyre to road contact surface area, therefore less grip. We can help offset that using negative camber. So you'll have a little bit built into the car anyway, but we're going to increase that slightly to increase the cornering capability and grip. So by having the wheels at more of an angle, I'm going to over exaggerate this slightly, okay? It's just a drawing. By having them kind of more like this, if that makes sense. Tyre. When we corner and the wheel is trying to fold, kind of like so, or the tyre is trying to fold like so, you end up with a lot more tyre to road contact surface area, therefore more grip. So if we look at this one where we've got kind of zero or standard factory camber, we've got less contact area between the tyre and the road surface. And then when we increase the negative camber angle, we've got more surface area contact patch, therefore more grip. Now it also depends very much how you want your car set up. Do you want the car to basically be really grippy in a straight line, or do you want it to be grippy around the corners? Well, for me, I would rather have that extra negative camber, knowing that it's going to grip better in the corners, because going in a straight line, Why do you need maximum grip going in a straight line? It's pretty straightforward and easier to control, isn't it? On top of that, of course, we're going to be installing our rear lower uprated brace. Now, by bracing the car, you basically decrease the amount of flex the body and chassis has. So that can allow the suspension and steering geometry to work correctly as designed without being compromised by having flex in the body. Now, you could go all out and add much more braces and a roll cage and stuff everywhere on the car to really increase the rigidity of the body. But I think our rear lower uprated brace is a nice easy install, and it's great that it replaces the flimsy rusting pre-existing ones that are on these cars. Now let's talk bushes. This type of bush. This type of bush, that's the bush I mean. Suspension bushes for your car. Or more specifically, in this case, your Jaguar XF. So we're going to be installing uprated bushes in these. These are what I like to call the banana arms. No prizes for guessing why. Yeah, it's shaped like a banana. Strictly, that's not the name for them. The real name is the front axle, lower arm, front arm, because that's what it is. Basically, they've got so many suspension arms on these cars because they're multi-link suspension. So if you describe it as the banana arm, it's the easy one to identify then, isn't it? Here we are. Now, they've got two joints, one this end, one this end. This one is a very large bush, and this end is what is often mistakenly referred to as a bush, but strictly is not actually a bush, and I'll talk you through that shortly. So this big bush in here is a very large one, which means it's got a lot of flex in it. Now, it's actually designed to do that. The idea of the bushes flexing, they absorb bumps and vibration from the road and make your Jaguar drive nice and smooth, which is great. However, with a bush so large like that, when you try to input steering, a lot of that effort is absorbed by this bush flexing, and it means your road wheels don't actually turn so instantaneously. So if we replace this bush with our uprated, stiffer bush, that means when you input the steering, the actual road wheels respond quicker and give you more instantaneous steering, therefore better drivability. Now, think, well, that's great. Why don't I just have performance bushes around the whole car? Because, you know, places often do kits and a bush for nearly every bit of the car, right? Well, I wouldn't recommend that either. Bear with me. Now, here's the thing. That may be okay on a race car or something that goes around a perfectly smooth track, but it's no good driving it on the public road because it will vibrate the car to bits and the ride will be horrible. Now, you may be thinking, well, I'm okay with a bumpy ride, I don't mind it a firm ride, that's okay. No, you can literally decrease the handling capability of your car if you go too far. And I'll try and explain on the whiteboard that may be a Jaguar XKR bonnet. Cooler than a whiteboard though, right? Thanks Ian for donating me the bonnet, by the way. I still use it, it's really cool. Okay guys, here goes. Hope you keep with me. So, here we have a traditional UK and other parts of the world road. This is the road surface.
Something screwy here.
No, that's wrong, obviously, isn't it? The road surface these days is more something like this. Let's be honest. And here's what happens. If we pretend this is our wheel and tyre, We know it's a bush because I've just told you this, but pretend it's just the road wheel of a car, for example. Okay, and then it follows in all the bumps, etc., like this, as you drive down the road. Okay? Now, if we make our suspension too stiff, basically the wheel will not actually follow these bumps down, but it will skip over them, okay? It will just skip over them like that. Now here's the problem. When it skips over them, and it's, for example, here, it's not actually touching the tarmac anymore, okay? It's skipping over those bumps, losing tyre to tarmac contact, therefore reducing grip. So your car can be very skittish and jumpy. So I don't know if you've ever driven like a lowered or very stiff car around a country lane, for example, trying to think, oh, this road's fun, you know, a bit of spirited driving, and go around the corners, and actually it's bumping and skipping everywhere, and you're probably going to go faster in a car with softer suspension because your wheel and tyre is remaining in contact with the tarmac more often, giving you more grip. So yeah, don't go too hard on a road car, basically. Now, back to my banana arm. The so-called bush in this end is not actually a bush. It is a type of ball joint known as a rose joint. It looks like a bush because a bolt goes through it and out the other side, just like this end. But actually, this isn't designed to flex at all, unlike a bush. This is only designed to swivel. And basically, it's like a ball in a cup that's greased. And that's it. And that's what's inside this rubber gator that's just basically keeping the grease in and all the dirt and water out. Okay, so there's no flex whatsoever, it's just designed to swivel. So that'll give you a very instantaneous steering and suspension responding setup. Unlike this end, which makes the whole system a bit more sloppy, but absorbs all those horrible vibrations and makes your car drive nice and smooth. Now, touring cars and things like that, they actually only have these all over. They don't have any bushes at all. Again, the reason for that is they're driving on a perfectly smooth track. They don't need to absorb those, you know, harsh vibrations and things like that from discrepancies in the road. But by changing these, because these are the main things out of the whole steering and suspension setup, these bushes are the main ones that flex considerably when you give it that input of steering from the driver. So by changing these and nothing else, you're still retaining a nice, smooth, comfortable ride. You will feel vibration a tiny bit more, and I mean a tiny bit more than standard, but in return you've got a much faster responding steering, and the car's just much more pleasurable to drive if you like going for a spirited drive, or if you like to go on a racetrack and then be able to drive the car home again afterwards. So these are the only ones that I'd recommend changing. On top of that, there's something you guys need to be aware of that I discovered the hard way, and that is these performance sort of suspension bush suppliers. They make these for almost any joint on the car, right? Including some of these. I've seen suspension like wishbones and stuff where you actually remove this, mistakenly identified as a bush when it's not, remember, and then you install one of these. Well, that doesn't make it any better because, again, this is designed to swivel and not flex at all. And what you're replacing it with is something that then actually has a bit of flex in it. So your car will be worse handling with a supposedly uprated bush. Does that make sense? So be very careful which ones you replace. To make it easy, on the Jaguars, I would say if you need to replace any steering and suspension joints, just use OEM front and rear, excluding banana arm, large inner bushes. That one is feasible to put a performance potty bush in. So we've got lower and wider for more stability and a lower centre of gravity. We've got increased camber for better cornering grip. We've got our brace to give the body more rigidity. And we've got our bushes that are going to give us more instantaneous steering. But we haven't overkilled it. We're not going too low, so speed bumps and things like that aren't a problem. It doesn't look stupidly low. It looks kind of like a sporty OEM Plus. And we've still got good tarmac grip even on uneven road surfaces. Thanks for watching. We do have our own YouTube and socials. If you want to follow us and keep up to date and see more Jaguar related content, we are Wraptor Customs. Give that a search. Search for Wraptor Customs or Wraptor Design. And thanks for watching. I'm Dud at Wraptor.